You want to install Kubernetes in an offline environment? Well, you can use Kubespray. There are some scripts in the Kubespray repositories where you can fetch everything that Kubernetes needs to run and then move them to your offline environment and then just run Ansible playbooks like as you do normally in an online environment. Well, the benefit here is that in long term you can now maintain this cluster, add nodes, remove nodes, and so on. I'm going to also use the latest version of Kubespray because apparently there are some changes which are confusing, and this will answer this comment here.
No! God, please, no! 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 No!
Well, I'm just kidding. You can simply add your own inventory ini configuration. I'm going to show you how. And now let's go and clone the repository. Now that you have the repository, just go under it. Here you need to initiate the Python repository. So you're going to need your virtual environment. Activate the virtual environment. Now you need to install all the requirements. Now that we have the requirements installed, let's go on and then create a list of files which we need to download images and binaries and so on. So if you go under the Kubespray, the cloned repository, you will find the contrib folder. Under it, there is offline. These are the 3 scripts you will use. This one is going to be used by both of these other scripts, but this one can be used also standalone if you want to pull the images and download the images from an online Kubernetes environment. Maybe you have a Kubernetes template, you use it for every installation. You can go on and just run this without any environment variable setting. But if you do, you are going to need first to generate the list. You have to do this anyways because this is needed, this needs it. So let's go on and then run the generate list. And as we go, I'm going to describe what will happen. So under contrib offline generate list. So a list is created for me here under temp. Before you continue, there are certain things you need to remove from this list. This images list has some deprecated images in it, and this is the list which you have to get rid of because while you're downloading them, they just don't exist and will bring you a lot of pain. So let's just get rid of this. I guess this is the next one to it. Let's get rid of this one, and this is also not existing one, and this one. What the other thing that you have to do is that everything starts like any tag 132.2, which is the Kubernetes tags. You have to add a V at the beginning because they are tagged that way. The actual image has a V at its beginning. I guess there's a bug in Kubespray because in other points they don't expect the V to be at the beginning, but they have it in their config. Yeah, but we are going to check that out and then catch all of this. Now that is fixed, let's go on and download the images. So now that we have a valid images list, let's go on and then download them. What you need to do is that you have to go under contrib offline. Here you need to use manage offline container images. Let's just run it without a command. It has a hint, it has a documentation. What we need here is to pass the images from file. What file? It says, for example, temp images list. This is what was generated by the generate list sh. This is what we did in the previous step. So let's go on and then run this, of course, with the environment variable. So that would be this one, temp and images.list, and then I'm going to run manages offline container images and create. What it does, it is just going to read this list, pull the images using Docker, and then will archive everything, and you can now use it for your offline environment. Okay, if you see something like this now, this means that you had no error, everything was successful. Now it is time to get all of the offline files. But for the offline files, there's something that you need to know first. if I open the script, there is a part which is going to run an nginx for serving these files. But while we want to download them, we don't want this to run. So in that case, I have to set this. So if I set no HTTP server while downloading the files, then it will not run the HTTP server for me and simply will just download them. So let's go on and then also run this file. I'm going to set this, and then I'm going to just say manage offline files, and that is it. So now if you also have something like this which says skip to run nginx, everything is now okay. One last thing, one to the last, still you have to do some stuff. One other thing you have to also download here, because when you want to run the nginx server in your offline environment, you need the nginx alpine. As you see inside the manage offline files, what will happen is that it will run the nginx alpine. So let's go on and save this image. What you do here is simply say docker save nginx alpine or as nginx. Simple as that. So now you have also the nginx image, just keep it here. The other thing which you need to do before we move to the offline environment is to come and fetch download all of the packages which the repository needs to run, all of the Python packages. So let's go back to Kubespray, and here I'm going to just download, use the download command and get all of the requirements into the Python packages directory. So what happened here is that it created a Python packages directory, and everything that I need for Python for this repository is available here for me to use them in my offline environment. Okay, to give you an overview of my environment, I have 3 machines running with VirtualBox. They are like virtual machines. You may using venv or any other virtual machine hosts. For me, I have 2 nodes for my Kubernetes cluster, 1 installer machine. I mostly rather to have an extra machine for installing Kubernetes, because then you can have a backup from this, and if something went wrong in your environment, you can just simply create, add, and like maintain and recover from, right? So this is the one which we are going to mount our setup into, but make sure before you move your files, you have created an SSH key on your installer and copied the public key into your node 1 and node 2, so you can just log in without a password. And when you go into, for example, let's say your node 1, also I guess it's 7, yeah. So make sure that you can get root access without entering the password. How you do that? So in my previous video about Kubespray, I have described this, but for that you have to come to etc sudoers, and the user which you want to give this privilege to grant root access without a password, just add this line under your etc sudoers for both nodes. Both nodes needs to have this. Why? Because Kubespray will try to run certain commands which needs root privilege, so it's going to run, and if you don't have this, it will be prompted with the password from that machine, and then it will time out. So better to have this in advance than later to have the pain of rolling back and so on. You may have your installation corrupted. So go on and then do this in advance. I don't know how you are going to get your environment, like the setup, into your offline environment. I'm using the shared folders from VirtualBox, for example, and here I have my Kubespray folder mounted into my installer. So everything that we did is also here. As you see, I am disconnected. The wire network is off, the Wi-Fi is off, and if I do curl google.com, nothing will come back. So now it is time to go on and prepare this Kubespray repository. Now what you do is basically first make sure that you are going to activate your virtual environment, the same as you did before. Activate, and I'm now in. Now what we need to do is to install from the Python packages that we just installed. So actually the packages that we downloaded in our online environment. So let's go on and do that. So you need to run again like normal pip install requirements, but you have to pass instead no index and find links, and this will be the path to the directory that we created while we downloaded the packages. Now if you received something like this in your environment, you just simply need to add this to your path. So let's go on and do that. And this has to now fix, now we have access to Ansible playbook, everything is installed. Now let's go on and install, actually push everything to our local registry. You can of course use Nexus or any other registry, GitLab or anything else that you have, but I think for just installing Kubernetes it's enough to use the local registry. Comes with Kubespray, but if you want to have a registry, an actual registry, you can have it later for your applications, or you can have it from the beginning. I'm going to use the local registry because it's just going to speed up things. But before we continue, if you have installed Docker using the Ubuntu's default installation for Docker, the Docker installation doesn't exist under etc, so you will not find it here. Why does that matter? Because if you go under let's say to offline, Kubespray country offline, and then say nano manage container images, what will happen here? We have to use the register function, and if I use the register function, it is going to copy a daemon JSON for Docker into the, it will configure Docker for like registering the images and so on. It will try to look for it under etc Docker. So this you have to change because our Docker is not there. Where is it? Well, a good question. It is under var snap Docker, and here under current config daemon JSON. So basically this is where the Docker is. In that case, just copy this and go to the script again, and you need to replace this part. But if this is not the case for you, just leave this. But for me, I have to come here and do this. This is actually where the daemon JSON has to be installed, and this also. So this has to go here, and yeah, so everything else under here should be just fine. If I search for etc Docker, yeah, there's nothing more, and save. Don't forget to do it with sudo, of course. Let me go down again. This part will be fast forwarded. Okay, now let's see if the register will work. Sudo. Now if you are seeing something like this, it means everything ran successfully. Congratulations, you have everything registered under installer 5000. And well, this means that now actually if I say curl installer 5000, then something is running there, and yeah. So what else now we need to do? We have to now bring up our file server before we go on with our installation. But before we bring up our file server, let's go on and then see what is under this manager files. There are certain things you have to disable here, and one other thing you have to bring up. What? The nginx alpine. Do you remember that we saved the image here? So now let's go on first. Load it. sudo docker load nginx. Okay, now we have to go on and yeah, so now we have to go on and comment parts of this code here, not with this, with this code, of course. Well, the reason that I'm doing that is because it is removing everything that we created, and it is also the same thing that's going to run the nginx for us. Of course, you can just take this and go on with that, but I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to just simply comment this out. Everything is going to be available. We are going to use Docker and so on. I'm gonna keep this part we need. So this is where it's going to run nginx, and I'm going to comment out everything here. So now let's go on and also run manage files. So now what will happen is if I say curl localhost 8080, it has our nginx. This means that it can also install like download the files. Now let's go on and do normal. So from this part you should already know. This is the part which you use just on Ansible playbook to install the cluster. There is one more tweak, but the rest is all the same. Let's go on now and create our inventory for our cluster. So I'm going to come to the inventory, just get it from the sample, call it YouTube. Well, the first thing which is changed here with Kubespray is that they have removed the inventory builder script which they had, and well, it's not really a big deal because the whole documentation, like this whole thing, is from Ansible, so you really don't need that. And it's actually better because now you can understand better, have a better understanding on how this is generated or how you can actually build your own inventory. So in this case, I'm going to actually add the node 1 Ansible host, which is running on 7, and since it is an etcd member, I'm also going to call this. The rest really doesn't matter. Everything is okay with the naming and so on. We should be fine. This one we don't need to touch. I'm actually going to do this. And yeah, so the node 1 for me again is the node 1 for me is actually again a worker node, and my node 2 as well, and you don't need anything else. I was working with the keyboard and I realized, oh, I'm on the editor. Okay, so here we go. It should be fine. So this is the first thing you need to configure here, and inside the group vars under the Deprecated cluster, as we are making this video as of today, the current version of Kubespray has one single problem here, where, I mean, this is one of the other problems, but this v has to go away because they are actually validating that the Kube version must have no v at the beginning of it, and apparently they are adding it by themselves. But one thing that they have forgot to do, I guess, is that they forgot to add this v also for the offline YAML. So any of these Kube versions are coming from that Kube version that we just changed, and they are forcing us to change. So a v has to be added at the beginning of all of these. Okay, so let's go online for a short bit. Don't worry about the offline YAML. I have figured out most of its values, and I have created the gist, which I'm going to share the link for you. Just go on and use this content, and I'm gonna go offline again after I run the Ansible playbook, but let me explain to you what's happening here. As you see here, I've already added all of the V's. Some of it already had the V's, for example, for containerd, they already had it. But yeah, so okay. Let's actually, I think there is one other thing that I do not need the V for. So I guess this has to get updated. This V was not needed. Let me go on actually to edit it here as well, so you actually get the correct version. Yeah. As you see here, we are configuring our local registry, our local file repo. This is also wrong. Let's update it here before I forget this. Yeah, so this is where the file registry nginx is running, and this is where our local registry container registry is running. And if you come down here, there is another part which actually is not available in the normal offline YAML, but you can find it inside the Kubespray documentation. If you go to Kubespray offline, I guess you may be not this one, but this one. Yeah, here they have it here, but they don't have it inside the official one inside GitHub. Probably they want to get rid of it. As today for this video, it is still there, and you can if you add this, it will still work. What it does, it's basically gonna tell containerd on the target nodes to skip HTTPS verification. So don't care about the certificate and just accept whatever is there. Well, that's it. Now let's go on and run our playbook. So like normally, you get your inventory. Our inventory is YouTube, inventory ini. I want to, don't forget to mention your playbook, and I want to become user root. The user is Farhad. Well, basically you don't really need to set this as long as the user of the installer machine is the same as the users, like the username is the same as the users on the target nodes, but just add it in case. One other thing that you need to also do is skip tags. Why do we need to skip some tags? Because we need to skip system packages. What will happen with this tag is that Kubespray will try to run apt update, and we don't have internet, so we cannot do apt update. So I assume that the Ubuntu or the Linux which is running on the nodes is the latest version. It has updated, it has upgrade, so everything is up, and like it's the latest image, or like an LTS maintainable secured image. But with this we should be actually fine, and then let's go and run this. Well, now if you're seeing this, your mission is accomplished. So you have Kubernetes on an offline environment. Let's check it out actually. So SSH, let's go to the master node here. And first of all, kubectl has to be here. Let's do kubectl get pods, and Kubernetes is running. So here we go. You have now Kubernetes installed offline. I hope you also going to get it to work as well. I'm going to share all of my configurations with you. Make sure to compare it with the Kubespray version that you are using. Maybe if you're seeing this video in the future, maybe some stuff are fixed already in Kubespray. So let me know if you had any errors or if you had any success. I will be happy to help. Besides that, if you like the video, add a thumbs up. If you are not a subscriber and want more contents like this, please make sure to subscribe. And if you didn't like this video, please let me know what I can improve. I'm gonna work on it. With all that, have fun coding. Cheers, until next time.